People were taking notice that we're forming a tribal council and taking care of our own legal aid problems, our own housing problems, our own health problems, at sporting events. The Brisbane Tribal Council did all these things.
Queensland Aboriginal Act and the Queensland Torres Act, which were the main subject of a lot of demonstrations, what we call Smash the Axe.
They were very hectic times.
Here in Western Australia, I think we're the only two states that still had those sort of laws in place.
We had a lot to deal with. Police harassment was incredible. Sort of stuff were our demands. We wanted these things for our communities because the institutions were decidedly racist and had a genocidal attitude. Without those survival services, we had bugger all. Pastor Don Brady was a spiritual mentor through that whole period.
A lot of them are really, really wonderful, strong, hard-working people, and they set an example for us to follow.
The Brady family were, just about all of them were involved. Mrs. Brady and her daughter Marcel Brady.
I played at the community centre there under Pastor Don Brady, Kawanji, at Spring Hill.
And there was Vincent Brady. There was Reggie Lawrence, he's from Sherbrooke, Sam Watson, and quite a few members of the Watson family. There was Sue Chili, Sue Morgan now, Francis Cockatoo, Steve Mam, and Pam Mam, that's to name a few.
I'd obtained, I think it was about 60 grand for the foster care program. We were employing people in the community to be foster carers whenever we had a problem with the children. And it worked brilliantly. David Jelke-Peters says, telling the federal government not to fund us because we're black, racist, violent, militant thugs, I think he is. He tried to stop it. See, it had to come from the Commonwealth to the State Health. Then the cheque had to go from State Health to our organisation. They would have been breaking law if they didn't. Like, I think I counted 13 organisations I was involved in at one time, and in executive positions, running around, making all this happen.
When you look at the UN Charter, the Human Rights Declaration and the Declaration of Indigenous Peoples' Rights, you'll see there's all the reference in those things about Aboriginal peoples, Indigenous peoples having this right to self-determination. So we were able to start exercising that.
The Tribal Council, Panthers, and then the services, we're all playing on that card that the federal would override with funding us.
He could talk more on Peterson because that was his worst enemy.
I want to help out. If I'm going to work with a nation of people, I want to help out. And the helping hand must start off by me doing something myself before I can talk about pushing others in my family, moving to the rest of the community and all of that.
Government opposed the notion of Aboriginal community control and Aboriginal people doing their own thing. So they set up the Aboriginal Health Program in direct competition. They used their political weight to siphon $5 million out of the funding that we could have gotten, delivering services that were designed by the state, not by Aboriginal people. And the state really had no idea back then what the issues were because they didn't take data. We were pissed off, to put it kindly, but we said, well, okay, well that's happened. We just got to get on with what we do and not let that bother us too much. So our health service gets involved in helping the housing service, lobbying for funds, because we know that with our combined political weight, we can probably get more housing and reduce things like overcrowding. And then once you reduce overcrowding, you reduce the health risk. So it's all common sense, really. The state had to reconsider their approach, and then they started collaborating, and new changes came. So I saw an immediate increase, like to 350 million in the first term. RACGP coming on board, and the Rural Doctors Association coming on board, and so on. All these things happen, and a large part of ATSICHS funding now comes from Medicare. As I said, we were a catalyst for the expansion of these types of services and programs right throughout Queensland.